Hello, college sports fans. You're listening to the College Sports Superfan. We've got tons of great college football games to get into. Of course, the game of the week is number 5 Indiana at number 2 Ohio State. I'll have a video coming out about that game tomorrow, breaking that one down. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on that game. But for now, I've got 15 games. That's right, 15 games we're going to get into real quick here, break them down super fast, and give you who I think is going to win these games. So let's get right into it. Okay, we got number 24, UNLV. They're 7.5-point favorites on the road against San Jose State. Now, the Rebels and Colorado State, who I'm going to get into at the very end of this video. And by the way, I'm doing all these games in chronological order. So this game is on Friday night. The other 14 games are on Saturday in chronological order. So that Colorado State game, that's why I'm getting to that one at the very end of the video. But UNLV, number 24 in the country, they're 8-2. They're on the road against San Jose State, who is not a bad team. They've had an interesting season. Of course, they just played Boise State. They played them close in the first half, only to get blown out in the second half. But UNLV and Colorado State are fighting each other for that other Western Conference title position to play against Boise State in the conference championship. UNLV has a super exciting and well-balanced offense despite their quarterback leaving them early in the season. They found, in my opinion, a better quarterback in Malik Williams. UNLV has arch rival Nevada next week at home, which should be an easy win for the Rebels. So should they get past San Jose State, then they should cruise against Nevada and will likely find themselves 10-2 and in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. I think it's going to be close. San Jose State has a dominant passing game. However, they have a very weak running game, only about 80 yards per game on the ground, and that showed itself against Boise. I think it's going to show itself here again, but this is going to be a closer one. I have the Rebels beating the Spartans by 3. Okay, let's jump into the Saturday games. Upset potential. Number 9, Ole Miss against Florida on the road. The Florida Gators are now 5-5, so they may find themselves going bowling this season because they got the Rebels here, and then they've got the sad Seminoles up next. So even if they don't beat Ole Miss, they should beat Florida State and get to a bowl game with a 6-6 record, which would be an impressive accomplishment for Billy Napier considering this insanely tough schedule. I thought Florida was only going to go 4-8 to start this year, so they have done a little bit better than my expectations of them. But they're coming off a good game against LSU. Ole Miss is 11-point favorites on the road here. It's Jackson Dart versus DJ Lagway. So this one should be super exciting. The Gators got the signature win. However, I think Ole Miss just has a little bit too much. This isn't a nighttime game. It's earlier in the day. I think Ole Miss goes on the road knowing everything that's on the line for the playoff. Their offense is just a bit too explosive. It's close, but I have the Rebels winning this game by 7 and escaping with a victory. And they just have Mississippi State next, which should be an easy victory, and theoretically Ole Miss would get into the college football playoff with those 2 wins. Okay, let's move on. Number 13, SMU on the road against Virginia. SMU is 10-point favorites, but why is this an interesting game? Well, the Virginia Cavaliers are 5-5, not too bad, a little bit better than I think people thought they would have done to start the season, and UVA shockingly beat Pittsburgh on the road, which essentially ended the Panthers' super great season. But then Virginia got mauled, absolutely mauled by Notre Dame. They were down 35-0 before the Irish finally let off the gas, and then Virginia scored 2 touchdowns against their second unit. Virginia committed 5 turnovers during that game and allowed nearly 450 yards of offense, and SMU has a way better offense overall than Notre Dame has. I think this is going to be an easy win for the Mustangs, and they're going to win this one by 14, and then they just have to beat California next week, and they'd be in the ACC championship game against the Miami Hurricanes, theoretically. All right, next matchup, number 25, Illinois at Rutgers. I'm talking about this one because this could be the closest game of the weekend. Illinois is only a 1-point favorite. I personally went back and forth against this game because initially I wanted to pick the Illini to win this one because I just think Illinois' got a great team. I really like watching their team this year. They've got a great offense. However, the Scarlet Knights recently beat Minnesota, who just recently beat Illinois. So comparing a common opponent, Rutgers has the edge there, and the Scarlet Knights had an impressive showing against Maryland. So I was going back and forth with this one, but I'm going to say Rutgers wins this game by 3 and gets to a slightly better bowl game. All right, number 4, Penn State at Minnesota. Penn State is 11.5 point favorites. They've been having a great season. However, I think the Nittany Lions are slightly fool's gold. The reason why I say that is because they've only played one great team all year, and that was Ohio State, who they lost to. Everybody else, including USC, which is only a 3 point victory, has all turned out to be varying degrees of mediocre to bad. I think Penn State is not quite as good as the committee thinks that they are. And you know what? This is a trap game. And I'm saying Penn State falls for the trap. I have to have one major upset in every single one of my predictions, and this is that one. I think Penn State goes on the road and loses to Minnesota by 3. The Golden Gophers have a great defense. I think they're going to bring the home energy. And I'm just expecting some chaos here. I think Penn State drops this one. The last time they were ranked number 4 and they went on the road to play Minnesota, they lost. If you guys remember that year, that was the year Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy. Penn State was number 4 going for the playoff, and then Minnesota beat them at home. I think Minnesota wins the victory bell again against Penn State. All right, number 14, BYU at number 21, Arizona State. Massive game. The Sun Devils have come out of nowhere this year. They're 8-2. It's so crazy. Everybody thought they were going to be 3-9 or 4-8. Heck, I just thought that too because hey, they were looking kind of mediocre. They have a super young head coach. They are 8-2. BYU is 9-1. Who would have thought this would be the huge matchup we'd get at this point in the season? And they're old WAC conference rivals as well. So it's an old rivalry being renewed again in Tempe. Both of them are fighting for a spot in the Big 12 championship game, which would likely be against Colorado. Again, likely there's so much chaos that can happen in the Big 12 still. Here's what I think, though. I think the Cougars are going to win by 3. Why do I think the BYU is going to go on the road and win this game? Well, Arizona State was able to beat Kansas State, an impressive win, but the Wildcats with Avery Johnson, he's still a young quarterback, and he's been a turnover machine, sadly, this season. Kansas State committed a lot of penalties, made a lot of mistakes. BYU is a much more well-disciplined team. That's why they've won as many games as they have. And they have a good quarterback as well in Jake Retzlaff. I don't think they make the same mistakes against the Sun Devils. And because they have more talent, I think they're going to find a way to shut down Cam Scattaboo as well as they can. And it'll be just enough. And BYU will end up winning this game by 3. That's my prediction on that one. All right, speaking of Colorado, they're number 16 in the country. They're on the road against Kansas. And the Kansas Jayhawks just committed some chaos last weekend against BYU. Everybody looked at that and said, whoa, Kansas, or BYU is only favored by 2.5 points. And we all saw the reason why. Colorado on the road against Kansas, only favored by 3 points. This is going to be in Arrowhead Stadium. This is going to be at the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Can Colorado avoid this upset, which was unlike BYU, or will Kansas create even more chaos in the Big 12 and in the country? Well, I think Colorado has an elite offense. Kansas has an elite offense. This is going to be a shootout. I think the Buffs do survive and end up winning this game by 7 on the road. I just think they're too talented, and therefore Kansas will not be going to a bowl game, shockingly, under Lance Leipold this season. And Colorado will improve to 9-2 and keep marching towards Dallas, Texas for that Big 12 championship game. Okay. Wisconsin at Nebraska, very evenly matched game. Nebraska is only a 1.5 point favorite. Are the Huskers cursed? Both these teams are 5-5. Nebraska currently has the longest active bowl drought of any major conference team. Their streak was longer than Vanderbilt's, and Vanderbilt just broke their 4 or 5 year streak. Nebraska has not had a 6-win season since in 8 years. I can't remember the exact year, but in 8 years, they haven't had a 6-win season. I truly believe that finally ends here. A lot of people are thinking Wisconsin's going to win because they just had a close game, a 3-point loss against the number one team in the country in Oregon. But you know what? Wisconsin was at home, at night, very difficult environment to play. Oregon had been playing one conference game after another. They've been beaten down with jet lag. So that's why I think the Ducks didn't play as well as they should have. So I think that's misleading. I think Nebraska at home, with everything that's been on the line, they've had back to back weeks where they came up so close. They came up so close against UCLA, so close against USC. They know they're probably not going to beat Iowa next week as they've struggled against the Hawkeyes. I think they get the job done, beat Wisconsin, get to 6 wins, and we'll see if the Badgers can upset Minnesota to get to 6 wins themselves and win that axe. Okay, number 19 Army versus number 6 Notre Dame in Yankee Stadium. Notre Dame is 14.5 point favorites. Oh, also Nebraska's 1.5 point favorites. Forgot to mention that. And I think they beat the Badgers by 3. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Anyways, Notre Dame is 14.5 point favorites over Army. This game is at Yankee Stadium. Every time I've bet against the Irish this year, it has been trouble for me. Every time I pick Notre Dame to lose, they ended up winning. I picked Texas A&M to beat them. They proved me wrong. I picked Navy to beat them. They proved me way wrong. So I'm not going to bet against Notre Dame again, especially with the spread the way it is. And I actually think Notre Dame covers that and they beat Army by 17 because the Black Knights, even though they're undefeated, and I love this Army team, they've played way too easy of a schedule. Notre Dame has been battle tested more, and I think Notre Dame's going to get up to a big lead, but unlike the New York Yankees in the World Series, I don't think they're going to choke that lead away in Yankee Stadium. Okay, next game, number 7, Alabama at Oklahoma. Alabama's only a 13.5 point favorite. You know what? Give me the Sooners to win this one. I'm saying Oklahoma wins it by 3. I know I normally only have one crazy upset. I'm picking 2 of them. Why do I think Oklahoma's going to beat Alabama? Well, the Sooners have an elite defense and an elite linebacker unit that I think can shut Jalen Milroe down. Very similar to how Tennessee was able to shut Jalen Milroe down. Tennessee laid out the blueprint. And I think Oklahoma actually has the pieces, unlike some other teams Alabama's just played. Oklahoma actually has the pieces, especially with the nighttime environment, to pull off this upset. So give me the Sooners to win this game by 3. All right, number 15, Texas A&M at Auburn. The Aggies only a 2.5 point favorite against the Tigers. And I was thinking, should I pick another upset? It's going to be very close. Jordan Hare is a very tough place to play, but you know what? Auburn is just not that good this year, and it's hard to pick them to win any game right now. I think Hugh Freeze has a really rough roster. I think the Tigers lose this game, meaning that they will miss a bowl game this season. Because again, they would have had to win this one and beat Alabama just to go 6-6. So it was a long shot, anyways. But I think they lose this game, drop to 4-7 heading into the Iron Bowl. I like Marcel Reed a lot at quarterback, and I say the Aggies win this one by 3 and set themselves up for a huge game next week against Texas in the Lone Star Showdown. All right, number 22, Iowa State at Utah. Iowa State, only 7.5 point favorites. Will they get this win against the Utes? No. I'm going to say Utah wins this game by 3. Why? Because Utah is always really tough to play. Yes, they're riddled with injuries. That's the reason why their season has gone off the rails. Still very difficult to beat at home, at night. And I think Iowa State is going to fall into the trap here and lose this one, as the Cyclones have been a little rocky towards the end of the season. Give me the Utes to win by 3. All right, 3 more games left to go. Quick reminder, if you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell because, again, I'll have a video coming out tomorrow talking about the big top 5 matchup between Indiana and Ohio State. Okay, so Vanderbilt at LSU. LSU at home at night in Death Valley is only 8-point favorites over Vanderbilt. Who would have thought that would have ever been the case? I'm telling you this right now. If LSU loses this game, then Brian Kelly really is in trouble. Vanderbilt is better than they've been, but still, you can't lose to the Commodores at home if you're LSU. I really don't think they do. They've got way too much talent, way too much offense, and a good defense. I think the Commodores don't score enough points, and the Tigers win at home by 10. All right, the Crosstown Showdown, USC at UCLA. The Trojans only favored by 5.5. Season has not gone the way USC has thought it would go. UCLA has been a tiny bit better than people thought they would be. I really thought they were only going to go 3-9. However, I think at this point they're 4-6. They need to beat USC and then beat Fresno State at home next weekend, which I feel very confident about UCLA getting that done. So they will get to 5 wins. Will they upset USC and get to 6 wins? No, I think USC is just a bit too good. I actually think the Trojans win this game by 7. In fact, they were able to beat Nebraska last week. I think that was a big confidence booster to the team, and I do think they beat the Bruins, get to a bowl game. UCLA will miss a bowl game, but will have a slightly better year than a lot of people thought they were going to have, and the future may be brighter in Westwood than a lot of people thought it was going to be. And finally, major game in terms of conference standings, Colorado State at Fresno State. The Bulldogs are 3-point favorites, so they could beat the Rams, and UNLV could beat San Jose State, and that would officially set up the Mountain West Conference title game between Boise State and UNLV, assuming Boise State wins as well, which I think they will. But you know what? I think Colorado State's on a roll. They've got 5 wins in a row. This is going to be tricky to go on the road and win this game, but I think Fresno State's just not that good. They're fighting for a bowl game. Fresno State is 5-5. Colorado State's 7-3. And I just don't think Fresno's going to get there. I think they're going to drop this one and drop next week to UCLA, finish the year 5-7, which again is not as bad as people thought Fresno would be to start the season. And Colorado State, this offense is too good. I say they go on the road, win this game by 3, and make it 6 wins in a row. And they'll get to 8-3, and then it'll all come down to the last week of the regular season to see who will play in that Mountain West Conference title. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching the College Sports Superfan. That was 15 games we went through real quick. Make sure to let me know in the comments below which one of those games you are most excited about, and tell me your predictions for some of those matchups. And keep in mind, I'll have that top 5 showdown coming out tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching.